Being a missionary kid and being involved in international, my heart just kind of wanted to get to more of the world. So I moved to Moscow, and we were doing this training with this particular group of teachers down in Rostov-na-Don, which is down in southern part of Russia. And we would teach them new teaching techniques, but we trained them in how to use the curriculum on morals and ethics that had been developed to teach them how to use the Bible. Most of them had never ever had a Bible and didn't think it was even possible to have a Bible. So one of the most joyous things we got to do was give these teachers a Bible. Each one, we'd just go and hand it to them, and they would grab it, tears coming down their face. And one lady said, I thought only priests could have Bibles. I didn't know I could have a Bible. Because many of the cities that we went to, there was no churches, no missions organization. I remember one conference we had in Omsk, 300 teachers showed up the first night for the first meeting. We had not expected that many, and they were crammed in. They wanted it. They had made arrangements to be gone from their job. They had been on the train for 13 hours to get there. 5 of them were sleeping in one little tiny hotel room because they were from a very, very poor section of Russia. But they loved their students, and they loved the fact that we wanted to help them. And the Americans said the depth of the relationships that were formed in that setting were unlike any others that they had had. And I remember one teacher who was telling us about her experience. She was telling about how she'd gone back from the conference and she was teaching the curriculum in her class, and the kids were loving it. And many of her pupils trusted Christ, and she had an influence in the teachers' lives too. And the principal came to her and he said, you can't teach that in the school anymore. I've been told by the officials, and so you have to stop. And she says, I can't. She said, I've learned this, it's made a difference in my life. I see my pupils, they're changing, they're being kinder to each other. And he said, well, you can't. And so they were sort of at a standoff, and she just kept teaching it, and he fired her. And she said, well, if I leave this school, God is going to leave this school too. And he just kind of didn't know what to do with that, and she left. In the next 2 weeks, the plumbing went bad, the electricity, there was fighting in the faculty, and just one thing after another went wrong. And after the 3rd week of her being gone, the principal came back and said, we want you to come back and teach at the school, and you can teach whatever you want to. And so this principal thought he was in control, but he had nothing compared to what God was going to do. So we saw many, many things like that happen, and it's continuing. I think that's the most heartening thing for me, is that we are so inadequate. We are up against this machine of a government that loves to make things difficult. Rarely did we go with plan A. We had to have plan B, C, or D in effect. And we would have our backs up against the wall, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing we could do to change the officials' minds or to get the visas issued on time. And God came through. He just did. And it was such an exhilarating feeling, when your back's against the wall, God has got to do it. And I've never, ever had him not come through.